Mario's back. Bigger and badder than ever before, viewers. This time, it's a fierce action-packed battle to free the land of Subcon from the curse of the evil Wart. It's up to you, along with Mario, Luigi, Toad, and the princess, to fight your way through bizarre multi-level worlds and find him. This time, you've got a brand new kind of power. Plucking power. And now anything you find can be a weapon. But beware, you've never seen creatures like these. Shyguys and Tweeters, Ninji and Beezos. And you've never had an adventure like this. Only cunning and speed can save you now. That's what the box art says for Super Mario Bros. 2 from Nintendo, released in 1988. Also known as Super Mario USA in Japan and Korea. Now, we all know the story, I think, pretty sure. This game is not to be confused with Mario Bros. 2 or Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels or New Super Mario Bros. 2. This was released in Japan as Super Mario USA. It's a platform game developed and published by Nintendo and is a sequel to 1985 Super Mario Bros. The game was also remade as part of the Super Mario All-Stars collection for the Super Nintendo, released on August 1st, 1993 in North America and December 1993 in Europe. It was released on the Wii's Virtual Console in Europe, Australia, and New Zealand on May 25th of 2007, and in the US in July of 2007. Super Mario Bros. 2 initially started out as a demo for a vertically scrolling two-player co-op action game that was scrapped. The reasons included the technical limitations of the NES hardware, making it difficult to produce a polished game featuring a vertical orientation and multiplayer features conceived for the project. It was decided to add more Mario-like elements such as horizontal levels, though many vertically oriented levels were retained in the final project. Since the game had gone through some development, Nintendo created the game Doki Doki Panic for the Famicom Disk System during its agreement with Fuji Television. The game was changed in order to fit with the theme of the mascots of the company and their adventure. Here's where we get this little, oh, it's not really a Mario game, it's Doki Doki Panic. But Doki Doki Panic was really a Mario game. You see what happened there? After Nintendo of America had concluded that the Japanese version of Super Mario Bros. 2 was too difficult, Nintendo developed Doki Doki Panic into Super Mario Bros. 2 for the international market outside of Japan. The game became a commercial success, and eventually the game became well received enough that it was also released in Japan as well. After performing successful sales, Super Mario Bros. 2 has since been considered a classic Super Mario Bros. Game around the world, even including in Japan, and has since been released in many remakes, including to being one of the Mario games featured in Super Mario All-Stars, as well as having its own remake in Super Mario Advanced. Super Mario Bros. 2 is set in the dreamland known as Subcon. Mario's task is to free Subcon from Wart, the game's final boss. The game's a side-scrolling platform game, as you well know. At the beginning of each stage, the player is given a choice of 4 protagonists to control: Mario, Luigi, Toad, and Princess Toadstool. Each character having different strengths, like Mario runs really fast, Luigi can jump really high, Toad can run and pluck vegetables the fastest, but is the poorest jumper, and Peach can jump the farthest due to her hover ability, though she is the slowest runner and slowest at plucking items from the ground. All characters have the ability to increase the height of their jump by ducking and charging up before they do so. Unlike the previous and following Mario games, no enemies can be defeated by jumping on them. Instead, the player must throw objects at enemies, such as vegetables plucked from the ground. Certain opponents can be picked up and thrown as well, and several levels feature blocks marked with the word POW, which when picked up and thrown, kill all the enemies on screen at impact, similar to the one in Mario Bros. The game features a life meter, a then unusual feature in the series. We begin each stage with 2 points of health, represented by red hexagons. In remakes, they are shaped like hearts, and we can increase the number of health points in the meter by collecting mushrooms. Health can be replenished by floating hearts, which appear after a certain number of opponents have been defeated, and the invincibility star, the Starman, from the previous game appears, with the player needing to collect 5 cherries to acquire it. Each stage contains 1 or more hidden flasks. When plucked and thrown, the potion creates a door to subspace. an alternate world in which coins are collected instead of vegetables when plucked, and mushrooms used to increase the health meter can be found. The player automatically leaves subspace after a short time. The coins collected are used in a slot machine minigame between stages. This minigame is the chief means of obtaining additional lives. In addition to the mushrooms and slot machine coins, several subspaces are also used as warp zones that involve the use of vases and pipes. So, let's talk about this for a minute. Nintendo of Japan's official sequel to Super Mario Bros. 2 was released in Japan as Super Mario Bros. 2. Let me start that over. Nintendo of Japan's official sequel to Super Mario Bros. Was released in Japan as Super Mario Bros. 2. It was in 1986. Visually, it looked like Super Mario Bros. With the same basic format, but with a completely different level design that delivers a higher difficulty setting. Nintendo of America disliked the Japanese Super Mario Bros. 2, which they found to be frustratingly difficult and otherwise little more than a modification to Super Mario Bros. So it's not so much that it was harder, but that it wasn't different enough. And they did not want to risk the franchise's popularity, so they canceled it stateside and eventually decided on helping the original Japanese developers to revise the Japanese game Doki Doki Panic, or Dream Factory Heart Pounding Panic, into Super Mario Bros. 2. Doki Doki Panic originally started as a Mario prototype. The prototype emphasized vertical scrolling levels and throwing blocks. Notably, it was originally intended to be a two-player co-op game, allowing players to toss each other around. The gameplay was considered not fun enough at the time and was scrapped until later when the developer received instructions to use the mascots for Yume Kojo in a game, at which he expanded the gameplay and created Doki Doki Panic. So Doki Doki Panic is a platforming game that follows a family of 4, each with different abilities, on a quest to rescue kidnapped kids in a fantasy world. The title was a licensed cooperation between Nintendo and Fuji Television to promote the broadcaster's Yume Kojo 87 event, which showcased several of their latest TV shows and other projects at the time. The game features mascots of the festival, a family consisting of siblings, Imogen and Lena and their parents, Papa and Mama as protagonists. The rest of the characters, including the main villain, Mamu, are creations by Nintendo for the game. Doki Doki Panic takes place within a book with an Arabian setting. All 4 characters are playable, and the game is not fully completed until the player clears all levels with each protagonist. In the American version of Super Mario Bros. 2, Mario, Luigi, Princess, Toadstool, and Toad were built on Imogen, Mama, Lena, and Papa's models, respectively, marking the first time that Mario and Luigi had noticeably different heights. Because the original prototype already contained Mario-like features, Doki Doki Panic naturally features many of the elements from the Mario universe, such as Starman, coin and jumping sound effects, POW blocks, and warp zones. Additionally, the game's soundtrack was composed by Koji Kondo, the original Super Mario Bros. Composer, and needed only a few alterations and new compositions throughout the conversion. Both Doki Doki Panic and Super Mario Bros. 2 were directed by Kensuke Tanabe. The Western version of Super Mario Bros. 2 was such a success that it was eventually released in Japan in 1992 under the title of Super Mario USA. Well, there you go. Who hasn't played this game, right? A lot of people are down on this game because it's too different and blah, 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 blah. But being different, much like Nintendo of America was worried about, being so different from the original, I think, makes it interesting, makes it more attractive in a certain way. It's a fun game. I really like it. I've always liked it. And yeah, it's classic. What can you say?